Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of MMA Brain. It is your host, Jeremy Fairhurst, here with JMurrayAthletics. Guys, today we are going to be going over last week's fight night. Which, oh my gosh, where did my notes go? That is absolutely diabolical. There we go.
Your mic's off. Yeah, it's still off.
Why is it doing this? Hello?
There we go.
Alright, I do not know why my microphone has been acting all kinds of turtlicious today, but I apologize. Fight Night Allen versus Costa from this last week. And then we're going to be dealing a little bit into next week's card. They don't actually have any UFC events this week. They're probably still reeling from the fact that MVP did so well, and they're mad about it.
Yeah, correct the mic again.
Hey, boys. Well, isn't this interesting? All right. Maybe now we will be having so many technical difficulties. I lost the hat. Hold up. Time out. Oh, shit. All right. Now we got all the shenanigans over with. We're going to go over this one more time since it's only 2 minutes and 22 seconds in. Guys, welcome to this week's episode of MMA Brain. This is Jeremy Fairhurst here at JMurrayAthletics. We're going to be going over UFC Fight Night Allen versus Costa. That was the event this last weekend. And then we're going to...
Oh, here it goes again.
Fuck. That is interesting. Well, I don't know. It sounds to me like we are having some StreamYard difficulties. But you know what, boys? We're just going to go with it. So, I've said it 3 times. You know what we're covering. We're going over next week's event, which is actually going to be Figueiredo versus Song Yadong as well. So, guys, we're going to be going into... Man, all that their technical difficulties sure threw me for a loop. But you know what? We're going with it. By the way, guys, if you want to check out the store, I know this is a wonderful time to bring it up. But you know, merch. We got merch. We got hoodies. We got supplements. We got like cheap speakers. We don't have expensive microphones.
Yeah, it's acting up again.
Says, I don't know why my microphone wants to keep acting like it doesn't work, but we're going to keep going through it because this is what we have to do. All right. Just going to keep pushing. I'm just going to keep...
Yeah, it's still doing it. Completely silent. Just take the headset off.
Yes, guess what, boys? We're going old school. Dalton, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
You can. You're absolutely beautiful. So here's what we're going to do, boys. My headphones are working. My microphones is garbage. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to scream just like this. I apologize about all of the technical difficulties that we've been having. Looks like these Razer microphones decided it didn't want to work on me no more. That's crazy because I just got those. But that is why you should go to the JMA store so we can invest in better equipment to bring you better podcasts, better shows, and better production. Moving on, I'm just going to take this and run with it because that gave me just that little bit of manic spite energy that I needed to get through the rest of this podcast. All right, so going into the UFC news, because boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Guys, right before this podcast was announced, you guys knew it was coming all week. Right before, as I was getting ready for this podcast, they announced that Colby Covington has retired from the UFC. He officially has flown the white flag, taken off his gloves, never to be seen again. He hadn't won in so many years anyway. We kind of forgot who he was. He said he was getting out of politics. That should have been a sign. Guys, Colby Covington era is over. And look, let's not show too much hate because Colby Covington brought us some of the most iconic fights of Kamaru Usman's career. They had an iconic rivalry. They had great fights. I don't care what anybody says. And we could trash on Covington as much as we want to for all the comments that he made and this and that and the other. And I'm not going to go there. But what I am going to go with is this. You can clown him for getting his jaw broken. You cannot clown that man for fighting with a broken jaw for multiple rounds against one of the hardest hitting 170-pounders to ever walk the earth. So, guys, big salute out to Colby Covington. If I could say his name right, Colby Covington. Enjoy retirement, man. Obviously, you had the gimmick, you had the character, and you brought us some laughs. So it was a good time to be alive watching Colby Covington compete. It's gonna be a little bit interesting with him gone. It just again goes to show that those fighters that we were watching, or at least that I was watching, and as I was growing up, are kind of starting to see their way out. Which, speaking of, which we'll touch on this a little bit, but the UFC Fight Night this week actually hit a record low. As long as the UFC has been with Paramount, guys, they have not had as low of a viewership rating as they did on the card that we're actually about to cover, which that might have to do with MVP. Obviously, I touched on that a little bit with the I posted another video on YouTube about the MVP card and the results of that. There was some controversy with Dana White announcing the Conor McGregor return, which is the next point on our news list. Guys, Conor McGregor is returning against Max Holloway, UFC 329 at welterweight. There is so much to uncover here. So I could do an entire video about this. Holloway moving up to 170. Conor coming back after like 5 years, coming off of a catastrophic leg injury. Dana White being petty and not giving Conor the... Apparently Dana White's petty bone is bigger than his desire to do Conor right, because why did you announce Conor McGregor's comeback off of your phone during a UFC Fight Night? I'll tell you why, because you were really mad that Francis Ngannou was going out and making $1 million someplace else again. So it's going to be interesting. I like Conor. I like Max. I think Max is going to beat the brakes off of Conor. That being said, Conor was not going to take this fight unless it was his terms, and you could see that already. It's at 170. I hear that Conor's pushing for 3 rounds. Obviously, everybody knows Conor's first 2 rounds are his best. He's not going 5 rounds of Max Holloway. That's ridiculous. This is going to be interesting. Max walks around at 170. We don't know what Conor's been up to since he broke his leg and then broke his toe and then got on a yacht and then decided he wanted to fight and then he didn't want to fight and then he was going to fight Michael Chandler and then he whatever. So it'll be really interesting to see if he even makes it to the octagon. If he does, I think it goes decision. I don't know though, man. It's what are their chins like? Max has gotten chin now. He's not the same fighter that he was when he fought Conor originally, but he's gotten chin. He's not that guy who's eating shots anymore. I mean, he is, but once that goes, it's not ever quite the same. And I mean, Conor got knocked out and then got his leg broke back to back and then pulled out over a broken toe. So where exactly is his headspace or his chin at? We don't know. That being said, guys, I mean, and that whole card, that's the other thing is there is no title fight on that card either. This is the headliner, and then it's Benoit St. Denis versus Paddy Pimblett as the co-main. So that's going to be a little bit interesting as well. But guys, one thing that I will say here is
Conor's Conor. He's going to bring the crowd. He's going to sell tickets. This is his first time as an underdog, so that's going to be interesting. I think he's like a minus 400 underdog going into this, and that's wild. I don't think Conor's been an underdog in his career. So it just really goes to show how the momentum has changed. Max has been in the sport. He's been defending titles. Conor is he's very well known for never even defending the title, or not defending titles, but Max has been like fighting at the championship level for years. Whereas Conor is like, he'll pop up once every couple of years and then he'll disappear again. It's just, I'm going to predict that goes the same way as what happened when Conor tried to fight Dustin, thinking, oh, I started this guy at the beginning of my career. These guys have stuck to it longer than you. You might have been the GOAT 10 years ago, but as time went on, Dustin Poirier stayed in the gym and you didn't. And I don't see this going any differently against Max Holloway. As interesting as it is that Max is basically walking in on his walk-around weight to fight Conor, it's very, very interesting. Guys, going into past that, we're going to the UFC Fight Night. And I'm going to be honest, before we even get to that, I'm going to be real clear. I was tuning into this, and these were some great fights, but I got to point out, say, man, that MVP card had a lot of my attention. I actually had to go and rewatch a couple of these. So that just really goes to show what they had going on. How the viewership that they brought in. It's my job to keep up with the UFC, and I was still more intrigued by MVP. So very interesting to see how successful that was, how much attention that garnered, and then seeing the reaction from the UFC, seeing Dana announcing the comeback of his greatest star off of his phone, and just looked like a last-second petty last-ditch effort to take some viewership away from the Ngannou fight. And it was interesting. But yeah, moving on to the main topics. First fight that we're going to cover of the night, we're just going over the main card, of course, is Veretunikov versus Kalen Williams. And let me tell you guys, Williams won 3 minutes and 31 seconds into round 1 by knockout. Man, I love seeing somebody from Detroit, Michigan go in there and win. That was dope. I felt so American. I don't know why, but there was something about Kalen Chaos Williams, man, that just had me going. His energy, his attitude, that boxing, it was slick, it was crisp, he hit hard, and like, he just, the entire time, it felt like he had control of that fight. And honestly, that was the theme of a lot of these. It just, maybe I'm going to sound like I'm just saying it in hindsight, and so maybe it's viewership bias, but it really felt like he just had control of this fight from the get-go. It didn't take long for him to corner whatever. I'm not going to keep trying to say that name 32 times in a row. You guys got it out of me the once. I'm from Kentucky. But like, it didn't take him long to corner him and cut him off. He did like a rushing hook thing and hurt him once. Right after that, cut him off on the cage again, finished him. It was a pretty open shut performance, a pretty good way to start the card. Definitely made a statement for himself against a guy from Kazakhstan who is competing is cross-training with Khamzat Chimaev. So pretty dope for a guy from Detroit, Michigan, man. That's pretty cool. Going into fight number 2, Timothy Kwamba versus Bernardo Chapage. So this was one where, again, it was very one-sided. Chapage had all the big moments. He finished round 1 trying to get a choke. He dropped Kwamba in round 2. And honestly, that the biggest part of this fight was that. He dropped him in round 2, and the ground and pound, he honestly probably, the ref could have stopped it there. He didn't. The ref let it continue. So after a while, Chapage just switched over to choke and finished him that way. But, I mean, again, like, this was very open and shut. Like, he just had control throughout the fight. Very interesting to see the night open up. Honestly, we had a good mixture. We had knockout, we had subs, we had decisions. We had pretty much everything this card. But coming from Chapage, who's coming off an injury layoff, to put on a performance like that, dominate a fight, and get a sub halfway into the fight, yeah, hats off to Chapage. Next up, we're going to go over Modesta, but man, let me tell you what, guys. I'm going to have to take some time with the dictionary or something, because trying to say some of these names makes me feel very, very hillbilly. I don't know. Which, speaking of hillbilly, you guys need to tune in to the JMA podcast that we're going to be doing this Wednesday. We're going to be sitting down with Austin Brimley, and let me tell you guys, they are both the most entertaining, exciting personalities that we have ever had on the pod. So you guys are going to want to tune into that. But anywho, away from the side advertisement, we got Bokoska winning by split decision. I didn't, and again, keep in mind, this was the one that my attention was most on MVP at the time. So I kind of went back and tried to watch this a little bit, but like, to me, I didn't know why this was a split decision. I'm the armchair guy. I'm here giving you guys the news, not just my opinion, because my opinion is very likely to be wrong. But Bokoska seemed to be in control of the whole fight for me. I just didn't really understand why it was split. Edwards really just seemed like the only answer that he had was to try to wrestle, and that wasn't working. He was getting out-clinched. He was getting out-grappled, and so it's like you're not able to execute your game plan, and you're getting beat at what you are good at. So I don't know. I just didn't see a world where that needed to be a split decision. But, I mean, that being said, congratulations to both fighters. You know, you put a performance on like that, you know. Somebody thought you won, so there's a plus, you know, and it was somebody that mattered. I'm just the guy reporting it after the fact. So, going on to the next one, guys, Diaz versus Wellmaker. This was my favorite fight of the night. You know why this is my favorite fight of the night? Well, okay, I don't want to say it was my favorite, but it was definitely one of my favorites by far, because I hate watching the UFC brass just nut hug a fighter with their commentary. Like, it felt like Dominic Cruz was commentating watching that. The entire first 2 minutes of that fight, all you heard was Wellmaker this, Wellmaker that, Wellmaker this, Wellmaker that. And it's like, Wellmaker looked really good. When you're sitting there listening to DC hype him up, you're listening to all these guys hype him up, talking about how much he's been training and how much he's learned and this and that and the other and this and that and the other. It's like, okay, he's throwing his kicks, he's keeping his distance. He was really like, it seemed like while he was playing range and dominating, being on the front foot, you know, keep bringing the fight to Diaz, he was doing really good. But like, as it went on, he only had to mess up one time. He messed up one time and Diaz was on his back. And it became very clear that Diaz's whole game plays, you can outstrike me. Yeah, you can sit here and play tic-tac with me. Eventually, I'm going to get a hold of you. And that's what he was doing. He got a hold of him, got him down in the first round, which there was the controversial knee. That was the big thing on the side of Diaz. I don't know what that dude was thinking, because anyone with eyes saw he was trying. You can't, I was trying to knee his shoulder. Man, you were trying to, like, Sabine Ha, like Super Saiyan jumping, flying, knee that man's chin through his forehead. Well, he was a downed opponent, sir. We saw that. Okay, I saw that. The ref saw that. Everybody got stopped. You gave your opponent plenty of time to recover because the referee's pulling up footage, and you got lucky because it hit the shoulder. I get it. Spur of the moment. They've been talking about how cool this dude is. I'd want to chin him in his knee, chin him in his chin too. But, you know, you're not supposed to knee grounded opponents. So, again, it hit the shoulder. So, Diaz threw controversial knee. It landed on the shoulder. Ref stopped it, looked at it, said that it didn't actually land to the head. Gave him a stern warning. Round 2 starts. Well, then they did the weird shit where they, like, restarted the round for a second and then stopped it. And I remember even DC was like, why are we even doing that? Like, I just start the next round. Like, we get it. He already got 45 seconds to recover, 2 minutes of recovery time, trying to figure this out. But yeah, round 2 started off the same way. We're like, Wellmaker was kind of trying to dictate the pace. He had his kicks. You know, he was a better striker until Diaz got a hold of him. And then, I mean, it was just downhill from there. He got him against the wall. He worked his way down. And then, I mean, he took his back and choked him. I mean, it's as open shut as you get. Like, you can have a striker's chance, but if the other dude's a better grappler, you're just kind of screwed. All Diaz had to do was get close. So, and it was honestly really cool watching somebody who wasn't getting nut hugged by the commentary for 30 minutes win the fight. 4 minutes and 8 seconds into round 2. So congratulations to Diaz there. Now, this was my favorite fight of the night as our next one. Choi Do-ho versus Daniel Santos. And it was my favorite because Santos, to me, instantly looked like he was about to get knocked the fuck out. I was waiting for it. Dude's coming out throwing these crazy kicks, throwing these spin kicks, trying to take this dude's head off. Like, just everything he's throwing looks really good for the camera and is using all of this energy. And I'm just like, you're missing. And it was really easy to see how it was going to go. He was so wild and so focused and trying to be down. And there was a couple times he almost caught Choi. There was a couple times. But, like, he was so focused on trying to be dangerous and so focused on trying to throw these crazy spin shots and these head kicks and these nasty. And he was just wasting energy. And then he shoots a takedown and fumbles it. Dude threw like 100 punches in round 1, but, like, most of them aren't landing. Most of them aren't landing. Your takedowns are getting stuffed. Sure, you're aggressive. You're controlling the pace. But if you're not landing shit, all you're really doing is wasting energy. And that is exactly what happened. Santos started off round 2, and he looked gassed. Already he looked gassed. Because you threw 100 strikes attempts in round 1, and every one of them was like knockout intent. So, yeah, he comes out gassed. He tried to take Choi down, couldn't. And then at that point, it's like I'm sure Choi felt how tired that guy was because you just saw how much he was trying for that takedown, just couldn't get it. Holds on to it just to try to rest. They don't even do anything for a few seconds. I'm surprised the referee didn't actually, like, separate them because they took a second. It was very obvious he's just trying to catch his breath. It's the only reason he even initiated the grappling. Choi escaped. And then at that point, like, I'm sure the second that he felt him on him like that, he's like, he is that tired. Yeah, he turned around, he started pressuring him, and then he put him out there by the end of round 2. It was 4 minutes, 29 seconds into round 2. Absolutely slept him. Just you let him just work out the tank on nothing, and then he took advantage. So I loved it. That was a clinic of just patience and just a veteran mindset, man. Choi really showed that he knew what he was doing. He stayed calm under pressure, even though a couple of those nearly took his head off, and then turned around and got a KO in round 2. So that will moves to the main event, which is Arnold Allen versus Paulo Costa. Arnold won by decision, and honestly, this was completely Allen's fight. He dropped Costa in round 1 and stole the round, even though it was kind of back and forth before that. He still dropped him in the beginning of round 1. Actually, I wouldn't even say that. He was controlling the pace of round 1 as well. He stood over Costa while Costa was on the ground for a little bit. Costa seemed to kind of do his best damage when his back was against the cage. Like, Arnold would get him all the way up against the cage, and then, like, Marquezio was way more focused on throwing shots off the back foot. And he was trying, but, like, the only ones that really landing, it felt like, were when he started to get backed up all the way. It was a little bit interesting. Like, they're both throwing, but Allen just was picking Costa apart. I think at one point Costa tried to get a takedown. Allen ended up on top and just ground and pounded him more. He let Costa back up at the end of that round in order to continue dealing damage on the feet. So, Costa was throwing as much as he could off of his back foot. Wasn't really getting anywhere. Starts trying to shoot takedowns. Isn't getting where he wants to there. It went to a decision for a reason, but it didn't really feel to me like Marquezio had that much for him. He was ready for 5 rounds. He was a seasoned fighter. You're main eventing a fight night, I would expect that. But he just didn't have what he needed in his toolbox to beat Arnold Allen. Arnold put on a clinic. He knew what he needed to do, how he needed to do it. He beat him at every range of the fight he needed to beat him at. And he walked away with the decision. So, yeah, guys, that will cover the actual UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Costa. At this point, too, I do want to point out that if you guys like content like this, and you see the reach that we have, you're seeing us on the Facebook and on Instagram, on YouTube, and you're hearing people talking about us in the gym, Guys, we are looking for sponsors. We are looking for advertisement slots. So if anybody is wanting to run an advertisement through JMurrayAthletics, whether it is on one of our streams, one of the podcasts right now, right when I'm talking, I could be talking about you. So if you want me to be running your advertisement for you, you want me to push your business a little bit, push your product, and really try to combine our audiences, guys, shoot us a message. Let John know, let me know. Hit us up on the JMurrayAthletics page. We are trying to get some business in with some of these local business owners that are like-minded and want to reach this audience. So give us a shout, hit us up on socials. And yeah, guys, now this is also the point where, moving on, we normally do this week's event overview. There's not actually a UFC Fight Night this week. They are taking a break because of International Fight Week and all the other stuff, and Francis Ngannou making too much money, and Dana's probably crying somewhere about John Jones, and Ngannou's probably going to happen on MVP, and he's not going to have anything to do with it because he's holding grudges instead of making good business deals. But besides all that, next week we've got Song Yadong versus Deiveson Figueiredo. And boy, guys, it's Deiveson Figueiredo. What more do you have to say? Him versus Song Yadong is going to be a banger. I see Deiveson trying to turn this into a grappling match fairly early, but at the same time, I would love to see a 5-round striking match. That would be beautiful. That would be absolutely beautiful. You've also got Zhang Mingyang versus Alonzo Manfield on there. You got Sergey Pavlovich versus Taliesin Teixeira. Guys, who doesn't love an amazing heavyweight matchup? Kai Asakura versus Cameron Smotherman. So Kai's actually moving up a weight class. If I remember correctly, he's the former champ from the other division. They got smoked at 125, which seems to happen with these Bellator guys who just can't seem to hang with UFC guys for some reason. I believe he's moving up to 135 to fight Cameron Smotherman because his UFC career hasn't exactly gone the way he wants it to. We'll see if he gets a win there and stays around. I like seeing this talent from other places. I would like to see them stick around and not just be fighting the very start of the roster. We've also got Muslim Shilikov versus Jake Matthews and Alex Perez versus Sue Madiri. Guys, again, I'm not going to act like I know all of these fighters because I can't even pronounce a couple of those names. But I'll tell you, Alex Perez is ringing a bell for me. So what we're about to do is we're about to look that up because I know he knocked out Chris Johnson earlier this year. I remember that. Okay, but he got subbed by... Okay, that's why I remember you. I remember Tatsuru Taira KO'd you as well. That was a while ago. This dude has been win-loss, 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 win-loss. Who are you fighting again, bucko? Because, like, I'm rooting for you. Looking at this record, hold up now. Sue Madiri, you're 26-10 versus a 19-7 guy. All right, so let's see what Sue's got going on. Chinese professional mixed martial art. Okay, never mind. I'm automatically going for the other guy because I'm a Kung Fu Weeaboo. Okay, yeah, and you won, and you're coming off of 3 wins. Yeah. Okay, I'm rooting for Sue. And guys, really, that's really all I get to say. I don't want to go too much into a demand that I don't know that much about, but I'll tell you what, I'm always excited to see a good mixed martial arts match between 135 pounds is 125, 135, 145. That's really where you get to see the good technique, that really great striking. Well, once you get past, there's so much to these fights. I wish we saw more 125-pound fighters in the UFC. 135 used to be way more stacked than it was. Now it would be good to see some actual new blood in the mix that could actually interest things again. I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting. But guys, this week we ain't got nothing that we can actually watch, which kind of sucks. Like I said, waiting for International Fight Week and all that. I guess the UFC is giving us a week to mull over how many hundreds of punches Max Holloway is going to land. But anyways, guys, I I think I'm just rambling at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I wanted to say thank you, and I really appreciate all you guys for tuning in. You know, we're really pushing content. We're on here Mondays, Wednesdays. I'm doing the MMA podcast and doing the JMA podcast. We're doing the local event coverage. We're really pushing our YouTube, pushing our Facebook, pushing our Instagram. So really focusing in on trying to make this business grow and have our community grow. So guys, if you've been interacting with us, thank you. We notice it. We appreciate it. Nothing helps more if you than just interacting. So, like I said, guys, thank you again for the time, and thank you for the honor of allowing me to present this to you guys. And with that, this has been the MMA Brain. Peace.